Hey everybody, welcome to the Simhanger. My name's Mark. Thank you very much for joining me today. And in this video we're looking at something completely new and, as far as I know, a first, and that is this particular panel here, and it's from FlightsimBuilder. On initial glance and having a look at this panel, it's easy to say, well, I know that panel. It's exactly the same as the standalone G1000 offering from FlightsimBuilder. But it's not the same. There's a whole lot more to it. Although it has the same buttons, switches and rotary dials and what have you, this in fact is a multi-purpose device. Yes, you can show your PFD or MFD for your G1000 or G1000 NXi, but in addition to that, you can now get both single piston and advanced steam gauges, which is not a pop-out. It's natively supported. I've reviewed the standalone product in the past before. I'll leave a link in the notes below. But now this is a G1000 and the steam gauges panel. But that's not the end of it. There's a whole lot more. Currently under development and should be out soon is the G600 NXi. That Garmin unit should be supported natively, which is very interesting. And in addition, it will support the G3X. You'll find that in the King Air 350, NX Cub and alike. And in addition, it is compatible and supports the third-party TDS GTN750. The GTN750 being a favorite amongst many flight simmers because it's such an intuitive and easy to use device, particularly for flight planning and basic navigation. And of course you've got access to Navigraph maps and so on. But there's one other thing that's really interesting about this. It comes in two different formats. The first one is the standard format, like any other standalone panel, where you can interact with whatever you've put on the pop-out or whatever is displayed on the high-res screen through your dials, switches or mouse or whatever. But interestingly, and in this particular case, this is the G1000 TNXi, which means that it supports touch. So where you've got things such as the G3X or the GTN750, which inherently are touch devices, you can do exactly the same with this device here. You will have noticed that I've got a full cockpit here with multiple panels, audio panel and so on. But in today's video, we're going to focus very much on the G1000 TNXi panel, put it through its paces and see what it's capable of. And I'll be using it with the standalone stand, which can be mounted on the Alpha or the Bravo throttle quadrant. So that's how I'll be using it for today's tests. This cockpit here, very nicely textured and very nicely finished. This comes from a company called Flight Velocity, and that is also owned by FlightsimBuilder, and they produce various different types of cockpits. I particularly like this one as it features the Alpha and Bravo with an underdesk mount. It comes part and parcel with that, and what I like about it, it utilizes the clamps that come with the Alpha and Bravo and doesn't require any screws or anything of that nature. But I'll be covering this in a future video. We'll be using it with multiple panels and just see how it performs and reacts and so on. The one thing I do want to mention about this panel is that it has had quite a quality upgrade overall. The rotary dials are now plastic injected. All the buttons are rubber. It features a high resolution display as well as full backlighting, which is variable. The back itself is fully molded. Each unit requires a USB, power and HDMI, and all those cables etc. come with the unit as you would expect it to. So that's enough of that. Let's jump in and see what's involved and get into the testing. To get things started is straightforward. Just start up the FlightsimBuilder hub. It's showing one G1000 unit attached. Then select the mode that you want to use it in. G1000 PFD or MFD, or perhaps the G3X. The G3X is touch enabled. if you plumb for that option, as is the payware TDS GTN750. If you decide not to go for the touch-enabled option, you can still interact with it with the mouse. All the options mentioned so far require you to pop out the unit and drag it to your NXi monitor. However, it does have a number of native modes. By that I mean no pop-outs are required. Two options are currently available. Both are steam gauges, one for a single piston engine and the other high performance. These are hard-coded into the unit and will read the data from your sim, in essence offering you exactly the same functionality as in the dedicated Steam panel, which I showed at the beginning of this video. You do need the FlightsimBuilder hub running in the background. Overhead is nominal, and you can start it before or after you've started your sim, and you can change the mode that you're currently using on the fly, ideal if you decided to change the aircraft. According to FlightsimBuilder, the G600 TXi is also under development. No pop-outs will be required as this will be natively supported. I understand it's going to be a September or October release. This NXi panel from FlightsimBuilder has a resolution of 1024 by 768, closely matching its real-world counterparts, and the displays are crisp and clear. However, the screen itself is highly reflective. Combined with my limited camera skills, subsequently the filming of the actual unit itself doesn't really do it justice, but it's the best I could do in the circumstances. In this video I'm going to run through very quickly and demo each of the modes wherever practical. However, the range and functionality of the various Garmin units are extensive, so in effect I'll only be demoing small snippets from each of the various modes. We'll start off with the steam gauges panels. Initially the single piston option, designed around the Cessna 172, but today I'm going to use it in the PA-38 Tomahawk from Just Flight. Okay, so let's take off, and what we'll want to see is everything reflected on the gauges within the sim is reflected on the appropriate instrument on our panel. Airspeed is alive and being recorded. Engine RPM as we push the throttle forward is being recorded. I want to rotate in and around 70 knots. Here we go. Now vertical speed indicator should be recording the climb, which it is. One of the beauties of using a panel such as this is you don't need to look at the instruments in the sim. Concentrate on your external view and fly using the instruments directly in front of you, just like in the real world. We'll climb out now with a bank to the left. We've now climbed to our cruise altitude and time now to just tune in that VOR. Make sure that we're heading in the right direction. Also to check that what's happening in sim on the VOR gauge is happening on the panel as well. And we can see that's the case as it rotates. And we center our deviation line so we can pick up the relevant heading. I've now quit that flight and selected another aircraft. It's the Beechcraft Bonanza G36. Bring up the FlightsimBuilder hub and change to high performance gauges. No pop-outs required once again. We can see the gauges format and detail has changed and we're ready to start flying. And here we're able to check that the engine information matches what's being recorded in sim, and we can see the changes in fuel flow, RPM, manifold pressure, etc. is being recorded. We could have used the G1000 mode if we'd wanted, but even though we're still in the gauges panel, via our physical device we can still interact. Here I'm just adjusting the course needle, ascertain the actual heading that we want to be on, able to rotate that as desired. Let's just tune that in, and then we can adjust our heading accordingly and head directly to our next waypoint. Now adjusting the heading, and our aircraft now starts to bank. We're on our way. When you opt to use this unit in its G1000 format, either the primary flight display PFD or the MFD, it does, to be honest, operate flawlessly in exactly the same manner as it did in this standalone G1000 unit, with all buttons, dials, rotary switches, etc. being fully functional. And like all FlightsimBuilder units, it's config free. It's auto-configured within the unit itself. In this case, both the PFD and MFD are pop-out panels, so in this video I'm not going to cover them in detail. as I've already done that, and check out these two videos. One was my initial review, and the second one was a flight from Augsburg to Innsbruck. Link in the notes below this video, and the image you're looking at now is from the second video where I did a full flight with both units, and I'm just starting my final approach into Innsbruck. The advantage of the NXi model, in my opinion, is its versatility and flexibility to switch from one to the other on the fly. As per the steam gauges, the G1000 is not touch capable. Same applies in the real world. But here I'm showing just how quick and easy it is to set up. Select PFD, right Alt and left mouse click to select. Drag it to the NXi, Alt Enter for full screen, and whatever is shown in Sim is shown on your physical unit. Here I'm just adjusting the heading. The one thing I haven't mentioned is it has a very nicely done backlit option, so you can vary the intensity of the LEDs. We're still in the same flight, and now we have the option to try the MFD. Select that from the Flightsimbuilder hub, and then we're going to follow exactly the same process. Right Alt and left mouse click to select. Once you've dragged it to the NXi screen, it remembers where it is. Alt Enter to make it full screen, and you're in business. No configuration problems to hassle with. It truly is an absolute pleasure. Please ignore the vast color differences. Once again, that is because I had to film this in a very darkly lit room, and I'm limited in terms of my camera skills. And all functions, as mentioned before, are fully accessible. Moving on, I've now switched to the King Air 350i, and we're going to have a look at the G3X using the touch option. These units, as I mentioned previously, are available both with touch and without. I could opt to pop out the PFD or the MFD, but for this demo I'm going to pop out the MFD. Now I've made things a little easier for myself because I'm using the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 pop-out utility, which is freeware and recommended by Flightsimbuilder. It allows single touch interaction as opposed to the double click or double tap, and perhaps more importantly remembers exactly where you placed that pop-out. There's the G3X MFD popped out on my panel. I'll provide some more details on the freeware in a moment. To enable touch on the G1000, select the touch option from the Flightsimbuilder hub. Press enter until the text is on the monitor that you want and simply touch it with your finger. It is now touch enabled. If you don't want the touch option for a particular configuration, just don't enable touch. It's that simple. If you have more than one touch device, not a problem, simply press enter again and touch that screen as well. Multiple monitors are supported. The pop-out manager is available on flightsim.to, and I've left links in the notes below this video. I consider it essential for any touchscreen application, and it helps resolve that age-old problem with Microsoft Flight Simulator, and that being, where the hell did that pop-out go? Note there's a different version for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024 versions. To use it properly and correctly, read the instructions. Having a physical device in front of you and touch enabled brings a whole new dimension to your flight simming. The G3X, as used in the King Air, is a touch device, and you get the full range of interactivity just as you would with the one in the real world. This is the MFD, and as you saw, we can incorporate the PFD into it, change our comm channels just at a touch, select the new frequency, and you're good to go. Of course, you can do exactly the same with your nav frequencies, audio panel, and so on. Navigating the menus is so quick and easy. I particularly like and find it very useful to bring back and incorporate the PFD information onto the MFD. Let's just bring up the map full screen again. And you can zoom in and out using the indicators on the panel. And as you can see, there's next to no latency at all. But there's a whole lot more information available. Bring up the menu. Here I'm going to select charts. In this instance, it's a low IFR chart. And I can interact with the map simply using my finger and scroll up, down and around. And of course I can zoom in and out if I want to get any additional details that I need. Great for improving situational awareness. If the option is available within the menu, well, it can be selected. We can check out waypoints, bring up our flight plan if we want to. In this case, I haven't got a flight plan, but if I did, once again, it would be interactive. We can pick up traffic information, for example, and for our GPS and navigational, we can bring up the satellite information and so on. And you could, for example, couple the G3X with the GTN750, further expanding the range of possibilities that are available to you. What I particularly like about this is the speed of interaction. There's next to no perceptible delay. You'd also find the G3X in the NX Cub, for example. We're going to now have a look at the GTN750 from TDS, and I'm in one of my favorite aircraft, Black Square's Piston Duke. I think the GTN750 is my all-time favorite Garmin navigational device. Once again, I'm using my pop-out panel manager app, as shown earlier in the video, but this time I'm showing one of the additional features, and that is the auto pop-out. Recognizes the aircraft and the panel and pops it out for you. You do have the option to make the GTN750 full screen, but I don't like the aspect ratio. Things look a little bit too stretched. And please note the TDS GTN750 is payware. Once again, links in the notes below. May work with the PMS50, not sure, okay, as I haven't tried that yet. The GTN750 is very popular because it's so easy and intuitive to use. Add in the touch option and you're in a whole other world. So quick and easy to find the information that you're looking for. As was the case with the G3X, interactivity is across the board. Just touching again on the PMS50, I understand it is not fully supported or intended to be supported at this time by Flightsimbuilder. The GTN series from TDS includes the GTN650, which is shown in sim just below the GTN750, and once again this is supported both in the touch and non-touch options. Here I'm just dialing in another COM frequency, 124.6, and of course you can do exactly the same for the nav frequencies, audio panel and so on. One advantage of the GTN750 from this developer is that it is compatible and supported by Navigraph, so if you use Navigraph maps you can access them directly and interact with them within the app. So let's go ahead and select charts. It's now loading, but we want to have a look at, let's say, departures. We're currently positioned in Hamburg in Germany. There are departures. Again, the display on the unit is very clear. You'll have to forgive my somewhat dodgy photography. I really do need to be able to invest in a better camera. But as was the case with the G3X, we can zoom in and out, we can move along the chart just by dragging our finger and so on. What I like to do, just as an aside, have my GTN750 up and running as shown, and have Navigraph charts next to it, and by popping out panels it does have an impact on your FPS, roughly 3 to 4 per pop-out panel, subject to whatever system that you have, and quite importantly how much memory you have in your system. But again, as I'm demonstrating here, I think it's clear that the amount of latency is nominal, if any at all. GTN750 is a win in my book. I've been flying with the new panel from Flightsimbuilder for the last 6 or 7 days or so, and I suppose to sum up my overall impression, the easiest way to do it is this. I've found myself, and not just for the purposes of this video, flying a lot more often than what I would normally do, to be honest, because I've enjoyed the sensation of having those instruments and a variety of different instruments depending on the plane that you're flying directly in front of you, and that your ability to dedicate the monitor to look at the outside world and concentrate on the actual cockpit itself has been a great experience and very immersive. Now, obviously this sort of product will appeal only really to the enthusiast, the prosumer if you like, and also anybody undergoing training, because they're not inexpensive, and we'll come to those price issues in a moment. But there are a number of areas that I would like to see developed and a number of points I'd like to make about this panel. First and foremost, that resolution is really excellent and the image is crystal clear. However, it is very reflective, and if you're flying in broad daylight, lot of sunshine in the room, that can be distracting, and I would like to see more of a matte to the, or turn down the reflection of the screen in some way or another. I guess it's within the nature of the panel itself, but it is an observation I've made. The other observation is that whilst the third-party pop-out panel manager is a great utility and you can use it, I would hope to see FlightsimBuilder either join up with the developer or develop their own pop-out panel manager. Popping out panels can be a bit of a trial and error at times, and I would like to see that incorporated in the FlightsimBuilder hub as just part of the overall package, because whilst some, such as the steam gauges, are native and don't require pop-out, a lot of their products do require pop-outs, and I'd like to see that incorporated within what they offer directly. In a follow-up video, we will be looking more closely at the UDM panel here from Flight Velocity, and you'll notice that it comes complete part and parcel with an under-desk mount. Very innovative the way that they've done it, using the clamps that come with the Alpha and Bravo, don't require any drilling or anything of that nature. I really do like this solution, and I have two of these panels as well as the audio panel, so we'll be able to put together more complex flying and see just exactly what sort of combinations we can come up with during a flight. And hopefully I'll get that video out in the not too distant future. Turning back to who is this for enthusiasts and pro-simmers, these are not inexpensive. If you go for the standard one, you're looking at about $750 US, and if you're going for the touch option, you're probably going to have to add another $100 US to it. So this is not an inconsiderate purchase, not a casual purchase. It's something you really want to get, and of course, if you're in the States, you've got delivery costs of 20 to 60 depending on where you are, US dollars, and for Europe I guess 30 to 50 euros for delivery, excluding local duties, taxes and whatever else may be applicable. So this is a commitment, but buying something like this is a one-off. I mean, particularly if it's a multi-function device, you can swap and change, and I'm sure in addition to the G600 NXi, which is currently under development and will be compatible with this panel, I'm hoping that they'll come up with more products. I personally, being a fan of the VisionJet G2, would like to see the G3000 being incorporated into this. But overall, I've got to say, I'm very impressed with it. Is it for you? Well, that's only for you to decide whether or not you want this level of realism or immersion. So until next time and our follow-up video, thank you very much for watching. Stay well, look after yourselves. I'll see you all again very soon, and ciao for now.